with him that day. I know he was a good person. I hope he still is. I hope he learns from this. He really needs help.
An effect on the jury. Sir, in 5 minutes I'm going to start again, with or without you.
Convicts' dramatic reactions in the courtroom. Case 1. Shanita Latrice Cunningham and Erica Mae Butts. In South Carolina, Shanita Latrice Cunningham and Erica Mae Butts were convicted of one of the state's most gut-wrenching cases, involving the brutal murder of 3-year-old Serenity Richardson. As Serenity's godmother, Butts was entrusted with her care but instead inflicted unimaginable harm. Butts confessed to striking Serenity multiple times with a belt after the toddler accidentally urinated on the floor. What began as punishment spiraled into prolonged abuse, ultimately resulting in Serenity's tragic death. Butts admitted to authorities that Serenity hit her head repeatedly as she fell in the bathroom during the incident. When Serenity collapsed, the women desperately tried to revive her. They held a bleach solution under her nose and placed her in an ice-cold bath, but their frantic efforts were in vain. Serenity succumbed to her injuries, which were later documented in a harrowing medical report. The autopsy revealed more than 250 injuries on her body, including a severely damaged liver, multiple broken ribs, and a fractured skull. The evidence left no doubt about the level of abuse Serenity endured, leading to the conviction of Cunningham and Butts for child abuse resulting in murder.
The severity of the blow to that child's leg, and to say that you did not recognize what had been done, to ignore what must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child on a daily basis, is more than disconcerting to this court.
During sentencing, Judge Deidre Richardson fought to maintain her composure as she addressed the courtroom. She described Serenity's injuries as some of the most horrific she had encountered in her career and called the abuse an unforgivable betrayal of trust.
And as such, the court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of...
The judge sentenced both women to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict sparked an intense reaction. As the sentence was announced, Cunningham and Butts collapsed simultaneously, overcome by the gravity of the verdict. The tense atmosphere in the courtroom shifted dramatically as the two women, who had remained composed for much of the trial, were suddenly overtaken by despair. Their physical reactions reflected not only the shock of their own fate, but also perhaps a late realization of the irreversible harm they had inflicted on Serenity. The courtroom erupted in emotional cries from family members. The anguished shouts underscored the immense sorrow felt by both the victims and the defendants' families, mourning not only Serenity's death, but also the permanent separation from Cunningham and Butts, who would spend the rest of their lives in prison. The moment highlighted the deep emotional toll this case had taken on everyone involved. Both women began hyperventilating and appeared visibly distressed. Security personnel and medical staff stepped in to assist, trying to stabilize their condition. The sight of the women gasping for air and collapsing in despair was a stark contrast to their earlier stoic demeanor. The finality of their life sentences shattered any composure they had maintained, leaving them physically and emotionally broken. Later, both were wheeled out of the courtroom, underscoring the profound impact of the sentencing. Their exit, in wheelchairs and surrounded by security, left a lasting impression on those present. It symbolized the weight of justice and the personal collapse that often accompanies severe sentences. This chaotic scene was a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of child abuse and the resolve of the justice system to protect its most vulnerable members. Serenity's case served as a tragic example of betrayal and loss, but it also reinforced the importance of accountability and society's commitment to protecting children from cruelty. Case 2. Tony Farmer. Tony Farmer, a promising high school basketball player and a top 100 college recruit, found himself in a courtroom for a violent assault charge that derailed his once bright future. In April 2012, Farmer attacked his ex-girlfriend, Andrea Lane, during an altercation in Bedford Heights, Ohio. Security footage captured the shocking moment Farmer's anger turned into physical violence, an act that would not only harm Andrea but also change the course of his life. The footage showed Farmer forcibly grabbing Andrea's bag and punching her when she resisted. Even as she fell to the ground, Farmer continued his assault. Panicked, Andrea attempted to flee back to her apartment. With every step, she hoped to escape the escalating danger, but Farmer pursued her relentlessly, his aggression evident. Witnesses who later saw the footage were left in shock at the level of violence Farmer's actions ultimately led to his arrest and a series of serious charges, including kidnapping, robbery, and assault. The video evidence was overwhelming, leaving no doubt about the calculated and brutal nature of his attack. In court, Farmer chose to plead guilty, acknowledging his crimes. His decision stunned many, but also provided some closure to Andrea and underscored the legal system's role in holding offenders accountable.
I don't know what was wrong with him that day. I know he was a good person. I hope he still is. I hope he learns from this. He really needs help.
Andrea displayed remarkable courage during the court proceedings, even asking the judge for leniency in Farmer's sentencing. She argued that his future should not be entirely destroyed due to his actions on that day. However, Judge Pamela Barker dismissed her plea, stating that Farmer had shown no remorse, especially given his threatening messages to Andrea after the assault.
He certainly threatened her or said that he should have done something more to her, and so that, in addition to what I saw on the tape, was very telling to me.
The judge emphasized the gravity of his crimes, making it clear that his behavior warranted a serious punishment.
And on that count, as to count 3 of that case, the robbery, which is also a felony of the second degree, the court orders that the defendant shall serve a term of 2 years on that count as well.
As the judge handed down a 3-year prison sentence, the courtroom atmosphere shifted dramatically. Farmer's reaction was both immediate and unforgettable. He collapsed on the spot. The sound of his body hitting the floor echoed throughout the room, leaving everyone stunned, including Andrea.
On the sole count of the indictment in case 564206, the felony of the third degree, the court orders that the defendant shall serve a term of 9 months in prison on that count. All of these terms are going to be served concurrently, which means that the defendant is, in effect, going to spend 3 years in prison.
Farmer's fall quickly went viral on social media, capturing the raw emotional weight of the sentencing. Many interpreted his collapse as a manifestation of shock and regret that came too late to change the outcome. It served as a stark reminder of the consequences of violence, both for the victim and the perpetrator. Despite efforts by his family to console him, the sentencing proceeded, marking the somber end of Farmer's once promising future. Case 3. Keeson Wilkins. Ohio resident Keeson Wilkins faced trial for felony assault linked to an attempted murder. Choosing to represent himself, Wilkins's behavior throughout the trial added to the tension in the courtroom. His frequent disruptions tested Judge Mary Catherine Huffman's patience and undermined his own defense.
The courtroom becomes a playpen for the brainless.
Wilkins's charges included felonious assault, possession of a weapon as a felon, and firing a weapon into a habitation.
And when accused criminal Keeson Wilkins insists on defending himself,
At one point, Wilkins requested more time to prepare his defense, arguing that the court treated him unfairly. However, Judge Huffman denied his request, citing his disruptive behavior and lack of respect for court protocol.
Just go get a tree and bring it in here. Just convince the hanging, let the lynching.
Wilkins escalated his accusations, claiming that the court was subjecting him to lynching, a statement that did little to help his case.
Mr. White, Mr. Wilkins, I have repeatedly advised you, sir, that you will lose your right to represent yourself because of your conduct. Do you understand that?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
The trial took a dramatic turn when, during the cross-examination, Wilkins suddenly clutched his chest as if experiencing a medical emergency. The courtroom was momentarily thrown into chaos as officials rushed to his aid.
but just when the judge thinks she's seen everything,
Medical personnel determined that his episode was likely staged, but Wilkins leaned back, slumping over in a dramatic display of apparent unconsciousness.
No, Your Honor.
Oh, a remarkable change.
Court deputies used smelling salts to revive him, and Wilkins soon regained consciousness, though he remained defiant. His theatrics, however, failed to sway Judge Huffman, who made it clear that such behavior would not influence the outcome.
An effect on the jury. Sir, in 5 minutes I'm going to start again, with or without you.
Judge Huffman proceeded with the trial and ultimately sentenced Wilkins to 42 years in prison. His dramatic courtroom antics highlighted the lengths some defendants will go to avoid accountability, but in this case, they only reinforce the court's resolve to deliver justice. Case 4. Jaleel Smith Riley. The final case centers on Jaleel Smith Riley, who faced charges of murder and attempted murder following a violent robbery. In 2013, Smith Riley confronted 22-year-old Portia Brooks and her boyfriend, Aaron Martin, in what began as a robbery but escalated into a deadly altercation.
In another state and is in jail, a third, police say, has already died. As Riley Smith leaves court for jail,
according to reports, Smith Riley ordered Aaron to exit their vehicle. When Aaron revealed he had no money, Smith Riley shot him in the head, causing permanent brain damage. He then turned the gun on Portia, fatally wounding her. Portia succumbed to her injuries 3 days later. Witnesses immediately called 911, leading to Smith Riley's arrest. He was charged with aggravated murder and attempted murder.
Jaleel Marquise Smith Riley entered court suspected of murder.
In an effort to avoid the death penalty, Smith Riley pleaded guilty to the charges.
She is gone. He wants parole. Well, I want my sister.
During the sentencing hearing, members of Portia's family gave impassioned statements, urging the court to ensure that Smith Riley would never be released. Portia's sister delivered a particularly moving speech, describing the immense pain her family had endured since her sister's death. She spoke of the void left by Portia's absence and the lasting impact on their lives.
For Portia's murder and more time for Aaron's shooting.
As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder.
It's going to take time. It's going to take time for all of us.
The family's heartfelt testimonies conveyed the depth of their grief, imploring the court to impose a sentence that reflected the severity of the crime. Their statements underscored their determination to achieve justice for Portia and ensure the safety of others in the community.
Then Judge Kubicki sentenced Smith Riley to life without the possibility of parole.
When the judge sentenced Smith Riley to life in prison without the possibility of parole, the weight of the decision caused an immediate and visible reaction. Overcome by the reality of his fate, Smith Riley collapsed in the courtroom. His fall symbolized the gravity of the sentence and the inescapable consequences of his actions.
In another state, and is in jail, a third police say has already died. As Riley Smith leaves court for jail, he says nothing.
Despite his emotional reaction, Smith Riley's collapse could not undo the damage caused by his actions. Portia's family, although visibly emotional, found some solace in the sentence, believing that justice had been served.